What's up, everybody? All right, so today I want to show you my little grow out tank where I have all of my different cuttings and everything that's sort of just chilling in here and growing larger, so that when I put them out into the bog area that I'm working on, they'll be able to survive. But what I want to show you today is this. A Stylidium debile, if I'm saying that right, or a frail trigger plant. Now, native to Australia, this plant is very quirky. You've probably seen a lot of videos on it that highlight the triggering aspect of the flower, which I try to get a picture of, and I'll try to put a video here in for you to see. It is very, very small, so these flowers will get much larger. Well, the stalks will get much larger. The flowers don't really. The stalks can get up to a foot tall or so, but the flowers stay relatively minuscule. And the reason why I want to highlight this plant today is I consider it a full carnivorous plant. However, the common theme is that this is what's called a protocarnivore or a part-time carnivore, or whatever you want to call it. The reason for that is the carnivory happens on the flowers. So the only time this plant is carnivorous is if the flowers are in bloom. And so I'll show you later on in this video why that is. The back of the flower and the stem have little tiny hairs on with mucilage, much like a sundew, that is able to attract, capture, and digest prey. In my mind, that makes it carnivorous. The reason why it's considered carnivorous is because it can only do that when in flower. But however, there are a lot of different instances of carnivorous plants that are only carnivorous at certain times of the year, but I'm not looking to stir up anything. I do want to highlight this plant. It is becoming wildly available in a lot of collections, and for good reason. It's an exceptionally easy growing, very fast growing plant, considered a weed if you don't want it to grow in a large collection. Now, if you know anything about my channel, I like growing everything in a very community sort of base way. I don't care about separations. Let me get some more light on here. I don't care about any of that. I like the feel of it being natural and growing all together. And so that is what I've got going on here. And so I've got this growing in here as well. As far as feeding it goes, I'll show you a little bit later in the video what I'm talking about, but I just spray some diluted Max C on it, just like I would my sundews, and foliar feed it, and it does just fine. This thing absolutely is a monster as far as growth. Now I'm going to try to get in a little closer and show you some pictures of what it looks like up close. All right, so if I can get it to focus here, I've got my giant hand down here, but the reason why I do this, I've got it on 3 times focus. Now, these flowers are absolutely minuscule. This is a new Stylidium plant, so these flower stalks will be much taller, but these are probably the size of pepper grains, if you will. Very small, but the reason why, let me see if I can get it closer, pardon the craziness of the camera. You see the little tiny, like, little hairs that look like they're sticking off from the bud there, or the back of the flower there. That is the reason why these things are considered protocarnivorous, is because those little sticky hairs there produce a small amount of mucilage that is able to attract, much like a sundew, attract and snare and then digest insects. And so it's considered protocarnivorous carnivorous because it only is carnivorous on the flowers, and so it is only carnivorous when the flowers are present. And so that right there is what you're seeing, is that carnivora. It is very much, again, like a sundew. I wish I could get closer, but that is the limitations of my camera, I do believe. There we go. Look at that. That's a good, better shot. Sort of, maybe not, but you can barely see it on it. And I'm talking, these things are tiny. I've got my camera at 3 times the zoom, and you could still barely see them. There's a little bit better shot. And so that is why they're considered protocarnivorous, carnivorous. Boy, I'm having a hard time saying that, aren't I? Right here are the flowers. Here's a closer look at those snapping mechanisms. So now, if I try to put my finger on the flower and show you the different parts, this camera is going to go crazy. But that little appendage, if you will, in the back is what holds the pollen. And when an insect comes along, a pollinator comes along and hits that middle of that flower, that little appendage will shoot forward and sort of bop the insect, the pollinator, on the back, which puts the pollen on the pollinator. As you can see there's some more of those little sticky parts underneath the flower as well. I think these things get a bad reputation for being a protocarnivorous. I think they should be considered fully carnivorous, but I can see why not. But there are plenty of plants out there that are only carnivorous for certain parts of the year. But without stirring up too much controversy, this is Stylidium debile. If I'm saying that right, debile. I do recommend it for any growers. Super fast growing. This was just a small quarter-sized chunk, probably about a month ago, and now it is spreading all throughout. Now you can see some growing out here. There are some pups there, and a pup there, and some over there. This is because this plant grows from its roots, and so it will spread out its roots underneath, whether it's in soil, whether you put it in a pot, it'll grow out from underneath the bottom, and it will spread its roots out and it will grow. Now, normally you would not want it in an enclosure like I have it in that's so large. Here, let me stop the video so I can get a better look. What's up, everybody? CHM Carnivorous here. I hope you're having a wonderful day and a wonderful week. As promised, I wanted to bring you what the Stylidium debile looked like after about a month. The video was posted a month and a few days ago, so we'll just call it a month. And if you remember in that video how small the plant was, I'll actually cut away and show you a piece of it now. This is the kind of growth you can expect in a month. So this is sort of just where I throw cuttings and stuff. So I wasn't really too concerned with it outgrowing. I will say though, I was not anticipating how fast it would grow. People told me it grows faster than a weed, but you know, I was just kind of thinking maybe that was hyperbole, but definitely not. So as you can see, it's flowering profusely, which this plant does. And the carnivory occurs on those flowers. It's also got the trigger on there, so when a bug hits that, those flowers will trigger and remove their pollen and put it onto the insect. But they grow profusely from their roots, and so I'm going to show you this. The tank is starting to look a little funky here with detritus and everything, but do you see all those little streaks? Those are all roots, and these are baby plantlets that are coming from about 6 or 7 inches away from the mother plant. But those are all the little babies that are growing off from the roots. And so it's goes about here all the way over to here, and then it goes back. So that one little rosette has produced all of this. And what's even more prolific about this plant is, I don't know if you can see it here. See if I can zoom in. Little plantlets grow off of the flower stalks, and then those little individual plantlets actually grow flowers. So this plant is an absolutely insane grower. I highly recommend it if you have an ability to keep it separate. Putting it into a communal area like this is not advisable unless you're like me, don't really care if it takes over, but certainly it will outgrow everything. Now, if you're new to Stylidium, they're called the trigger plant because of these little tiny triggers on their flowers. And so when a bug lands on that, it hits this little trigger hair that springs forward and then transplants pollen onto the bug. The carnivory happens, see if I can get it to scroll even more. Right at the center of your screen there on the flower stalk is some dew. It looks very much like a sundew, and that draws in insects, traps them, and then they are digested by the plant. This has been known as a pseudo carnivore because it only is carnivorous when the flowers are blooming, but the fact of the matter is it flowers near all the time. So in my mind, it is certainly a carnivorous plant. It does all the things. It attracts bugs purposely, catches them, and then breaks them down and ingests their nutrients. So by all accounts, it is carnivorous. and it is prolific, as you have seen. Now, what I'm interested to see is I purposely laid down this flower stalk because I want to see if those little aerial plants will actually grow roots, or if this is similar to Venus flytraps with their false vivivary, where it will just die off with the flower stalk. So interesting to see. I will keep you posted on that as well to see how that goes. But in all, Stylidium debile, I highly recommend it for any new grower, any growers really. It's just such a cool addition. Native to Australia. There's a ton of different varieties out there, but this one is going to be the most common, as they are not very widely collected as of yet in personal collections. But definitely, if you are concerned about your plants intermingling, keep this one separate. And then one final note is, like I said, they grow from the roots. So if you keep it in a pot and a community tray, it will actually grow out from the bottom of the pot and will go through the water and then take over other pots. So specifically keep this one separate, even out of community trays, if you are concerned about that. Now, I do have some concerns here. If you can see, in here is a Venus flytrap that is starting to get taken over. So I'm going to have to remove that Venus flytrap. And then there's a couple more in there that will get strangled out. So definitely something to look out for if you're growing it in a terrarium like this. All in all, hope you enjoyed this video. I'm glad to be back. Took a little break as the plants were in dormancy. I decided to take a little dormancy myself, but I've got a lot to share with you. There's been a lot of cool things happening, and just wanted to start off with this one just to show you what 1 month of growth looks like. I hope you have a wonderful day and a wonderful week. I'll see you soon. Bye-bye.